The hardest health decision I made after 60 wasn't about food or exercise. It was deciding how much access certain relatives would have to my life. I used to think staying available no matter what made me a good person. I was the one who calmed everyone down, swallowed the sharp comments, kept the table together. Then retirement came, and all the noise I could outrun during work hours got loud. One tense message at night, one critical call in the morning, and my whole day was gone before breakfast. A few months ago, I'm standing in my kitchen, coffee in my hand, phone face down, and I can feel my body bracing for the next family notification like it's an alarm. That's when it hit me. I had spent years protecting everyone else's comfort, while my own nervous system paid the bill. If you feel guilty even thinking about stepping back, I know that feeling. I still second-guess myself before holidays. But if certain interactions leave you drained for hours, this isn't selfishness and it isn't weakness. It's a signal, and ignoring it doesn't make it disappear. The moment I really see it is a Tuesday. It's 2:10 in the afternoon, the house is quiet, and I'm standing by the sink looking at a plate I already washed 5 minutes ago. A short call happened in the morning, nothing dramatic on paper, just that familiar tone, a little criticism, a little guilt, a little "you never." And now the whole day is wearing that call like a heavy coat. No meetings to jump into, no commute, no office noise to dilute it. Just me, my thoughts, and that conversation replaying like a song I didn't choose. The night before, there was a tense family message thread. I sleep badly, wake up early, and before breakfast I check my blood pressure and it's higher than usual. I'm holding my coffee, phone face down, and I can feel my chest tighten before a single new message even arrives. That part scared me, honestly. Not because anyone shouted, because my body was bracing for people I love. I read a study not long ago from 2026, and it said negative ties are more common than we admit, and each extra hassler was linked to faster aging, around 1.5% faster pace. When I read that, I just sat there thinking, so I'm not imagining this. This has a cost. And if one interaction can throw off your whole day now, that doesn't mean you got weak. It means retirement removed the distractions, and the signal got clear. If this is happening to you too, you're not broken, and you're definitely not the only one. Once you see the signal clearly, the next question is whether constant exposure is costing more than you admit. So here's what I did next, and I'm not saying I figured it out quickly. I didn't. It took me about 90 days of trial, guilt, backtracking, and a few awkward conversations to understand what was actually helping. I stopped treating this like a family drama and started treating it like health management, like pruning a mature tree, not chopping it down. Some branches stayed close, some moved further out, and a few had to be cut back hard because they were draining the whole thing. What I want to share now is the simple map that got me from constant tension to more steady mornings. How I sorted people, how I changed contact without big speeches, and how I filled that new space so I didn't slide back out of guilt. The real turn happened on a quiet Thursday, not during a fight. I'm at the kitchen table around 4:40 p.m., notebook open, reading 1 month of notes from my little reset. Who I talked to, how I felt after, and how long it took to feel like myself again. One name shows up 3 times, and every time the recovery line says the same thing. Still tense the next morning. Another name shows up twice, and both times I wrote, felt lighter after. That's when it clicked. I wasn't dealing with good people and bad people. I was dealing with exposure and recovery, like pruning a mature tree so the whole thing can keep living. I remember just sitting there with that pen in my hand thinking. I kept calling this loyalty, but my body had been calling it overload for a long time. And honestly, I still felt guilty even in that moment. But looking back, that was the day I stopped asking, "What will they think of me?" and started asking, "What is this contact costing me by tomorrow morning?" So I started simple, because when I get emotional, simple is the only thing I can actually follow. I took a notebook and wrote 3 words at the top of a page: nourishing, neutral, draining. Then I went through names, slowly, with my coffee getting cold next to me, and I asked one question after each name. How do I usually feel the next morning after talking to this person? Not during the call, the next morning. That question changed everything. One person was easy to place. I talked to him for 20 minutes, and afterward I feel steady, even if we disagree. Another one was neutral. No harm, no special lift, just normal family weather. And then there were the hard ones. Calls that lasted 15 minutes but left me rehearsing imaginary arguments while I brushed my teeth at night. If that sounds familiar, you are not weak. You are seeing the signal more clearly now that life is quieter. And once I had the map, I heard the objection in my own head. So now you're grading your family. I hated that thought. It sounded cold. But this wasn't grading people as human beings. It was tracking exposure and recovery, like my doctor asking what foods trigger symptoms. Same person, different dosage. The first practical change was this. I stopped doing open-ended contact with draining relatives. No more drop by anytime. No more calls with no endpoint. I moved one relationship from weekly unstructured visits to one planned coffee a month in a public place with a clear start and end time. I would arrive on time, leave on time, and keep the topic light if things got sharp. I expected drama. Honestly, I expected fireworks. But conflict dropped, mostly because there was less room for it to spiral. I know how that sounds to some people. Family on a timer? That's sad. I used to think the same thing. But what's actually sad is spending 2 days recovering from one lunch and then pretending that's normal. Wanting fewer but safer interactions is not coldness. It's emotional wisdom, especially now. And my body kept confirming it. Before this reset, I used to feel tension Sunday night before a recurring family Monday lunch. I'd sleep lightly, wake up early, and start Monday already tired, like I had worked a shift before breakfast. Later, I read that study in health psychology about older adults and negative interactions being linked to higher risk of hypertension over time. I remember thinking this is exactly it. The stress wasn't only in my mood, it was in my body calendar. If your body braces before certain people, you are not being dramatic. Your system is reporting strain. Now, I didn't make big speeches. This part mattered a lot. I used short scripts because long explanations used to pull me into debates I never won. Things like, I can't do a long call today, but I can talk for 10 minutes tomorrow. Or, I won't discuss that topic, but I'm glad to hear how you're doing. Warm tone, clear limit, then stop. You don't need everyone to agree with your boundary for it to be valid. I also added one rule that saved me from myself, a 24-hour delay before replying to provocative messages. The old version of me would answer in 3 minutes, heart racing, and then spend 3 hours regretting every sentence. During the reset, when a guilt-heavy text arrived, I would put the phone down, wash dishes, walk, sleep on it, and answer the next day in 2 lines. Not perfect, but cleaner, less emotional residue. Did I follow that rule every time? No. I broke it more than once, especially before holidays. One December evening, I replied fast, got pulled into a long thread, slept badly, and woke up irritated at everyone, including myself. So yes, I say this and still fail at it sometimes. Progress, not purity. And there's another thing people don't say out loud. When you reduce damaging contact, the silence can feel strange at first. Relief shows up, but so does emptiness. The house gets quieter, and guilt tries to call that loneliness. That's where I almost slipped back. So I made a replacement plan before guilt could write one for me. Weekly walk with a neighbor on Wednesday mornings. Standing coffee with an old colleague every other Friday. One volunteer shift twice a month. Small things, fixed in the calendar, so they happened even when I didn't feel social. The goal wasn't to become busy again. It was to become nourished on purpose. And that part is bigger than my personal story. I saw WHO estimate saying loneliness affects about 1 in 6 people globally. 1 in 6. So the answer can't be cut people off and hide. The answer is better connection, not more chaos. Relief mixed with sadness is normal. Peace is not the absence of people. It is the presence of the right people. Something else helped me stay grounded. The filter stayed the same, even when emotions changed. Respect, reciprocity, recovery time. If I felt disrespected, if support was one way, and if I needed a full day to recover from a 1-hour conversation, I treated that as real information, not a personality flaw. I later read about this idea in aging research too, that relationship quality matters as much as how many people you have around you, and strong relationships are linked to better survival. That matched what I was living. More names in my phone did not mean more life in my days. Of course, family systems push back. One sibling got more critical when I stopped being permanently available. For a while, I kept trying respectful limits, hoping we'd find a better rhythm. We didn't. That relationship moved to low contact. I still grieve that, even though it was the right move for my health. Guilt still spikes before holidays. I still second-guess myself on certain mornings. But now I recover faster, sleep better most weeks, and I have more emotional room for the people who show up with care instead of control. And if your private fear is, I'll regret this forever, I hear you. I had that fear too. What I noticed is that regret got quieter when I acted with clarity instead of anger. Measured limits, respectful tone, no revenge, no public drama, and real effort to keep healthy ties close. Distance as dosage, not punishment. At this stage, the goal is no longer to win family dynamics. It is to protect your years with intention. And this is where I am now, if I'm being completely honest. Some mornings feel quiet in the best way. I make coffee, the light comes in, my phone stays face down, and my shoulders are not up by my ears before breakfast. That used to be rare. Now it happens often enough that I notice it. But this is not a clean before and after story. There are still weeks when one message can pull me right back into old patterns. A holiday comes close, a familiar name lights up on the screen, and I feel that old pressure in my chest like my body remembers the script before my mind does. I still second-guess myself. I still wonder, am I being fair? Am I being too rigid? Should I just let this one go? What's changed is not that I stopped feeling guilt. What changed is what I do when guilt shows up. I don't treat it like a verdict anymore. I treat it like weather. It passes faster when I don't argue with it. I also have to admit this. Sometimes I hide behind boundaries when I'm just tired. Not every delay is wisdom. Sometimes it's avoidance. I'm still learning that difference. I don't always get it right. And maybe this part matters most. I no longer believe there is one perfect formula for family. Some people can rebuild closeness through hard conversations. Some need long distance for a season. Some relationships can be repaired, and some stay limited even when you do everything respectfully. I don't think there's one correct map for all of us. I think there are principles, and then there is real life. For me, the principles stayed simple: respect, reciprocity, recovery. If those are present, I move closer. If they disappear, I step back. Not with drama, not with revenge, just with clarity. If you're in the middle of this right now, feeling both relief and sadness at the same time, that tension is real. It doesn't mean you failed. It usually means you're leaving an old role before the new one feels natural. And that in-between space is uncomfortable for almost everyone, even if nobody says it out loud. So no, I'm not finished. I'm not the expert who solved family forever. I'm just more awake to what contact costs me, and more willing to protect what helps me stay steady. If you see yourself in that, then you're not behind. You're already doing the hardest part, which is telling yourself the truth. So when I go back to that image of pruning a mature tree, I see it differently now. At first I thought pruning meant loss. Now I see it as care. You don't cut a branch because you hate the tree. You cut it because you want the tree to keep living, keep growing, keep giving shade. And in families, that can look quiet and almost invisible from the outside. Fewer long calls, clearer limits, more recovery, more space for the people who bring steadiness instead of storms. Some branches came closer again, some stayed where they are. A few are still uncertain. Real life is like that. I still have days when guilt knocks on the door, especially around holidays. I still have moments when I wonder if I'm being too firm. But then I check my mornings, I check my sleep. I check how much kindness I still have left for the people who love me well. That tells me more than guilt ever did. At this age, peace is not selfishness. It is stewardship of the life you still have. I'd really like to hear your side of this. What is one interaction in your week that consistently leaves you drained for hours afterward? If you want, share it in the comments in one sentence. Sometimes naming it clearly is the first boundary. And if this kind of honest conversation helps you feel less alone, stay here with me. We're going to keep talking about how to protect your years without hardening your heart.